Godzilla films were always playing on daytime television.
Yeah.
And King Kong. 76 Kong was for some reason always playing on TV, I remember, and that was really depressing. I like that movie. It's just the ending is literally depressing. That period, the main thing that was playing on television when it came to the Godzilla movies were all the Showa films, and the main ones that stick out were Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla versus Hedorah and Astro Monster or Monster Zero. That one. Those are the three that imprinted on me, as you can see here. So.
And when you got the opportunity to come back after Godzilla vs. Kong, when you got the opportunity to come back to this, were you immediately like, I want to go to that Showa era, I want to trip people out? How did you get here exactly?
Yeah, well, I mean, the main thing was when I made Godzilla vs. Kong, up until that point, I'd made a whole lot of indie movies, and I'd kind of avoided visual effects for budgetary reasons, because I knew a lot of other filmmakers who had made smaller films, and they kind of thought, well, this thing didn't work, we'll fix it later, we'll try to do some visual effects on it, and it always looked like garbage. And so I was like terrified of having bad visual effects in my films, so I just avoided them. So all my early movies were very practically driven special effects films. So fast forward, here I am doing a Godzilla vs. Kong movie, and this is the first time that I can really rely on the visual effects being good. So, but at the same time, having done all these other films, there was nothing that could have prepared me for Godzilla vs. Kong. It was like to me, it was a learning experience, and it was only like towards the end of production that I felt like, well, damn, I'm getting the swing of this thing, and I'm really starting to understand really how to fully utilize, especially the heavy animated sequences, how to play with these characters as characters in the same way that you would almost like a animated film, just more hyper realistic. And I remember there was like an interview I read with Quentin Tarantino, who's like my favorite filmmaker other than John Carpenter, and he, like, somebody asked him about why he did Hateful Eight after Django Unchained, and he had a really interesting answer. And I remember it kind of boiled down to the fact that he too, was like, he felt like he had just learned how to shoot a Western at the end of Django and all the things that, encompass that. And so he was inspired to take that knowledge and do another one. And so that's really what was, I really related to that, and I thought about that a lot, because that's exactly how I felt with the Monsterverse. It was like, I'm ready to take all I've learned and go into this next film and really try to, push these kind of very visual, nonverbal sequences with the monsters further, because I knew from my experience that we could do that, and that's the movie that I always wanted to see when I was a kid.
And that's exactly what you've delivered here. I mean, I wasn't joking. We've got some kids in the audience, and they totally loved it. When I first watched this film, I was like, where was this film when I was 10 years old? Like, this is the film that I'd always dreamed of. But you've taken it just an infinitely step further, and there's a ton of inspirations in here. Exterminator 2 T-shirt. Did anyone else see that? Yes, there we go. You're in a happy house here. There's a ton of inspirations in here. We played this a playlist that you gave us earlier. So there's a ton of 80s music in there. There's like references to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Kiss in there. But then there's also like Thundercats and He-Man. I feel like you channeled your formative years, and we're watching your childhood. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like I tried to listen to all the little things that I said to myself when I was, a really little kid, probably starting as early as 4 years old. And when I watched the movies, I was like, oh, why do these adults always do this shit? And they're making these movies. Sorry, kids. So that's exactly what I tried to lead into, and and I feel like sometimes I do my best work when I'm really pulling in those John Carpenter influences as well. And with this film in particular, I knew that Godzilla and Kong were going to team up in this film. That was the whole impetus behind the movie. But they're complicated characters, and the I took a lot of inspiration from the movie They Live, which is my favorite film of all time. And the thing about that movie I love is that the best sequence in the film is it's not the hero versus the villain, it's the two heroes fighting each other. So that alleyway fight scene is one of my favorite sequences of all time. And so that's sort of what was the inspiration behind the big pyramid sequences.
Yeah, you just decided.
It's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, you decided to destroy Cairo in the process. The